Hello everyone.
Hello, hello.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tally.
And we are
the Lazy Book Lovers.
This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Speaking of to-be-read piles, we've actually been reading.
What?
We've been reading a lot this year. We've been very out of character. Like, it's very off-brand the whole year.
Yeah, it's making me angry.
Yeah. But also I've read lots, so... So we're actually going to do a reading update. Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Are you thrilled? Are you thrilled and excited to be here?
I
know, we are.
So, I have read 152% of my reading goal.
But you'd set a low reading goal for yourself.
Well, I said 60. That's a good
Yeah,
reading
when
goal.
you read how many last
I
year?
don't know, like 100 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like-
It's the pages. That's the goal I'm most interested
Yeah.
in. I'm 3,500 pages behind.
That's not that bad.
No. And that's including fourth wing. Check out last week for context. The context is I'm bitching, it's too long. It's not that interesting.
Okay, so we should listen to last week's anyway.
Yeah.
Because
there was more than that. There was a whole discussion.
There's a whole discussion about Fourth Wing. And it was very structured and intellectual.
It was a deep dive with spoilers, y'all.
So I'm up to 53 books. But remember I was like, I wanted to read a certain number of physical, like, books.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm up to 35 actual books and the rest is made up in audios.
That's good. And how many did you want to do?
I wanted to do 50 books.
And you've done 35.
Yeah. So 15 by the end of the year, if I stop reading such big fucking books.
Yeah, and whilst you don't have a job, you should be reading a book a day. Come the fuck on.
I did, to be fair, yesterday I took myself to the park near here that has a lake, and because it was sunny, and I just sat in the sun reading, and I was like, is this what life could be like? If I did not
you're a lady
work
of
for the
luxury?
capitalist? Yeah. I did find one job that was part-time, but didn't list the salary as prorated, but it was still like a decent salary, and I was like, can you imagine if I got a part-time role but for like decent money? I'd fucking love that.
Couldn't even dream of it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even dream of paying my bills. So.
Hashtag millennial discussions. Yeah, so I have been trying to read more. Take advantage of the free time.
I'm going to plug my Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you about this as well. So in October, which it will be by the time this comes out,
Yes.
come over to my Instagram. I am doing a challenge that I gave myself because I hate myself. I am going to listen to 31 audiobooks in October.
So that's like, what, a book a day?
Yeah.
Okay.
And come over to my Instagram. I'm going to try and do a daily reel. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, you're not very kind to yourself sometimes.
I was like, I'm really having a breakdown. I know what will help with stress levels.
A mandatory target that's going to make me feel really bad if I don't hit it. Yeah, boy. Well,
I need to listen to about 5 hours of audio a day.
Okay. So you're going to listen to like shortish books then?
I've got a mixture.
Okay.
I mean, I might change my mind on the book, but I have planned out the book.
Okay.
And 5 hours of audio for me is 2.5 hours. Just listen to it.
You two-speed, don't you? Yeah, that's why that's more doable for you.
And I definitely do at least 2.5 hours of housework a day.
See, I cannot go above 1.2. They start sounding like cartoon characters to me.
I have been listening to Skullduggery at 2, and I kind of want to nudge it to 2.25, but my library app goes from 2 to 2.5, and I tried it at 2.5, and that was just slightly too chipmunky for me.
No,
my other half listens at 3, and that is chipmunky for me.
But how do you like when it's like a fight scene? How are you processing that?
To be completely honest with you, I glaze over fight scenes all the time anyway.
Fair.
Like, when I'm reading the books, I'm like, okay.
I just find with audio, my comprehension is sometimes a lot less of like what's actually happening, but what I'm picturing is more vivid. That's how I find it.
Yeah.
Like, but my actual understanding of what is going on is less.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm always doing things, so I don't know if that's.
This is the thing. Like, if I'm like cooking, I will turn it down a bit, maybe to like 175, maybe to 150. If I'm like hoovering, it's bumping up because I don't have to pay attention to what I'm doing. So
like at the gym, I listen to audios quite a lot because after a while, your music playlist just becomes like it's like
nothing.
Yeah, it's boring. Whereas I don't know, I like listening to like a romance or someone just in the gym, like I don't want to be here.
I must grow a bust.
I don't know, like
romance.
I don't know what's going on with them. I'm not feeling the gym at the moment, and I'm usually a bit of a gym bunny, but I don't. I'm just like.
And this is the perfect time that you could go. Like
I could go any time I want, but I'm finding myself having to like drag and the whole time I'm there and having to like cajole myself to do it. It's just unusual for me.
Yeah. So come to my Instagram, please.
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
tallies.library. I might, if I remember, also share them on TikTok. I'm getting really bad at cross sharing my stuff, which is annoying because I'm making 2 things of everything.
Oh, I'm so lazy. I'll just share the TikTok to my reels because I'm like they don't get much hits either way. Like reels are dead.
And I don't record anything in Instagram because Instagram Reels editor is shit.
Yeah. My story graph just freaked out. Hold on.
Anyway, moving on.
Swiftly on.
Let's talk about what we've read. Do you want to go?
I just suspect you have more, but do you have more? I've got 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I'll go first then. Yeah. Why not? Because this will be quite an easy one. So I read The Golden Enclave, which is the 3rd book in the Scholomance series, is how I say it. How do you say it? Scholomance. Not for debate.
We should ask Naomi Novik.
Yeah.
It is Naomi Novik, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm not brave enough. I'm never brave enough to tag the authors in my Instagram post. Like, you know, I put in my story about what I'm reading. The only person I was brave enough was A.K. Mulford.
Not even Derek Landy. Would you tag him?
No, I'm such a chicken.
I tag everyone now.
No, I'm such a chicken. But then A.K. Mulford liked my story and then reposted it. And I was like, yay!
Such a babe.
So back to topic. Yeah, by Naomi Novik. So this is the 3rd book in the series and like the conclusion to the series. So it's pretty hard for me to talk about this spoiler free. An extremely vague summary. So shit goes down at the end of book 1. Book 2 is them dealing with the consequences of shit going down in book 2. In book 1, sorry. And in book 2, they essentially start to realise that like the school isn't able to do what it was built for. It was meant to protect wizard children, but it's really not able to do that anymore. And as part of the consequences of what they do in book 1, the Scholomance is able to then start addressing its issues. Because the Scholomance is sort of semi-sentient, because the magic is to do with intent. And its intent is to protect as many children as possible. And up till now, that has been this sort of process of just like letting them die off if they're weak or stupid, because it keeps the rest of them alive. Yeah. It keeps the majority of the children alive, because then the strongest get out. But then because of what they do in book 1, it affects the number of mals, which is like mana eating monsters, like magic eating monsters, which is the reason children are in the school to protect them. It affects the numbers of them in the school. So instead of its whole purpose being towards keeping these mals away from the children, the school's now trying to like fix the fundamental underlying issues of the school. And that it's not, the way it was built isn't fit for purpose necessarily, which is why things went so wrong and it was overrun with those mals. Yeah. So the school was trying to make Galadriel, Elle, our main character, fix it. And that's
I forgot that was her real name, yeah.
So book 2 is basically Elle, like, arguing with a sentient school, being like, I don't know how to fucking fix this. And it ends up being like, there is no way to fix this, we need to start again. So they do things to essentially make that happen. And then that process, they work out that what they can do in closing off the school is call as many mals to the school before they do it, to then buy the wizard world a few years free from mal attacks, to then start a new school or start again.
That's a good idea.
So then that's what they do at the end of book 2, is they do their plan. Except things go kind of wrong, and there's these huge things, these monsters called Mormouths, which are like the worst mals. and the two scary Mormouths that sat at the edge of the graduation hall and killed the most people.
Right.
One has eaten the other because of the lack of mouths in the school for them to feed on.
Okay.
So Patience and Fortitude. Patience has eaten Fortitude. So Patience is now a giant blobby Mormouth. And then has eaten its way through all the mouths that they draw into the school. And there's this moment where Orion is like, I'll save you, Elle. And she's like, fucking no. And he decides to be a hero. And that's like how our book 3 starts.
I was thinking about him this morning because I was listening to Skullduggery and Omen. No, Orga gives me vibes of him.
Yeah, like hero vibes. He's been taught to be hero boy. So Elle is like devastated by what's gone on. She doesn't know how to fix it. She arrives back home and is just like fucking traumatized. And then she's just home for a few days, doesn't get much chance to recover. So 2 people from the London enclave show up and are like, a Mormouth has taken over our enclave, killed a bunch of people, our wards are down, save us. Because they know she can kill mouths.
Oh no,
Mormouths.
She's like a hero now.
Yes, so they make her come and save them. And then soon after that, another enclave goes down. Another ward's go down, and they call her in. And she gets this book called The Golden Sutras, which is how to build enclaves without using Malia, which is the bad magic. Because she's got this book from the school. And her plan was to start helping small wizard communities who are outside of enclaves build these golden enclaves.
Yeah.
Instead, she uses these golden enclaves to rebuild the wards of these existing bad ones built with bad magic, and to shore up their wards and change them from bad to good, essentially, with like the will and intent of all the people there.
Yeah.
It was actually quite emotional because like the final bit of the spell is like, shelter us, keep us safe, anchor us, please keep us safe, please. That's like, it's like, I'm not just paraphrasing, but it's like, it was really like, ooh. And then basically she's getting called from enclave to enclave because they're being attacked by this mysterious force. And through this process of being called to the different enclaves and having to fix them and save them from more mouths, Elle works out something to do with how enclaves are built without spells like the Golden Sutras. So how they're built using Malia. And it's bad. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's bad. And it's to do with how more mouths are actually created.
Okay.
So like basically something wizards are doing is creating more mouths, and it's like reprehensible. And by killing more mouths that are anchored to enclaves, it's causing a knock-on effect.
Okay.
Again, I don't know. I'm trying not to spoiler it. And it's basically Elle realising that, and Elle realising that the prophecy about her is going to come true, but not for the reasons she's been brought up to believe. Not because she's going to go evil dark witch, but because the way Mormouths is created is so reprehensible, and she's the only one with the power to fix it.
Okay, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, so it's like the whole way through, I couldn't see where it was going. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know how they were going to save Orion. Like, you just don't... I literally did not know. And then I read the bit with the big ending. I read it while I was at the bloody public pool, the outdoor public pool, on one of the days I went there, because I've been trying to enjoy the time off while I'm not working, while I'm, like, looking for work. So I was just there, I had sunglasses on, and I literally had, like, tears leaking out from under my sunglasses, and I was just, like, and I was surrounded by, like, people, and I was, like, like, trying to, like, you know, you're just trying to, like, subtly dab them away, and I was, like, trying to read, and then I just finished the book, and then I was just sat there, like...
No one here knows I'm destroyed.
I was like, what now?
Yeah.
I needed to eat as well. So I was like, oh, how am I going to go in? I have to take my sunglasses off to go in the cafe to order food. I've obviously been crying, so I was just there like, I can't eat now.
I'm screwed.
So yeah, really, really good. Yeah. Really good ending. Like, there's so many things from book 1 that's pulled through. 100% recommend.
When I come back to it, I'm going to redo A Deadly Education. And I think I'm going to try and do them close together.
I think there's bits in book 2 that will kill you off a bit because there's lots of scheming and political planning. But it's all kind of laying the foundation for book 3. Okay. So, like, there's a bit in the middle of book 2 that's a bit work building that you might find a bit tedious.
I'm starting to enjoy a reading series together again, like closer together. So
yeah,
I'll give it a try.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really, really enjoyed it. Go read it.
Okay, so I read a novella.
Mm.
I'm going to say it's a novella. Novellas are by word count, not pages, aren't they? But this it's 128 pages, so I'm going to say it's a novella.
I always some people say 200-page books count as novellas, and other people say they're books. I don't know.
It depends on like the words, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Word counts. And then there's novelettes. Novelettes?
Yeah, fuck
and
knows.
stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. And then short stories. Anyway, I'm going to call it a novella. It's 128 pages. It's called Welcome to Camp Killer by Cynthia Murphy. I thought this would be fun. It's a YA, it was giving me the vibes of that you're not supposed to die tonight. Like,
Yeah.
I thought, it's a killer in a summer camp.
I think you've done this one.
And it literally is a killer in a summer camp.
I feel like I
dunno,
remember you
did
talking
I?
about this. Yeah, it's the summer camp that's been bought out by like a horror company, and they've got tunnels.
No, that was You're Not Going to Die Tonight.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
reading a lot of similar ones
okay.
recently.
Yeah. So then it's very similar. Carry on.
Yeah. This is based in the UK, and a guy who runs residential summer camps in America decides to set one up in England, and he hires some counsellors, camp counsellors, who have done their English, who have done the going to be a counsellor in America before, so he knows them from camps over there.
Yeah.
And he hires them for his English camp, and the first night, the people start getting killed off. It's a short one. It is what it says on the tin, really.
Okay.
It was. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what I thought of it. I don't know if I found it entertaining or not, if I'm honest, because it was very by the numbers. So I guess it entertained me, but it didn't really give me anything different.
It was a read.
It was
entertainment.
Did what it wanted.
Yeah.
It kept me entertained for a night.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's out now. I read it as a NetGalley arc, but I think it's out now, so maybe check it out if that sounds good to you. Yeah, that was it. I don't have much more to say about it, to be honest.
So I read The Evergreen Heir, which is the 5 Crowns of Oakcliff book 4.
I didn't know you'd read that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So this is A.K. Mulford, who we're big stands of. She's a lovely TikTok author who this series got picked up from indie to trad published. There's 5 kingdoms. We've followed each kingdom and the characters that we know from each book. That they could be standalones, but they kind of work in tandem. This book follows Nilo, the heir to the Southern Court. So Nilo is non-binary and autistic coded as well.
We love A.K. Mulford.
Yeah, and the love interest is ADHD golden retriever with dyslexia.
Okay, I think I'll like this one.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I can't imagine not liking a Mulford, but
I love this. Number 3, Bree's story did not have as much magic for me as the first 2 did. But this one really
capture you in a same way.
Yeah. I don't think anything was going on in life that could have been the reason. It just didn't grab me. This one, I fucking love this one. So basically in book 3, as a joke, the Queen promises Nilo's hand to the person who wins a duel. The duel gets out of hand. Talhan, which is one of the Golden Eagle twins, steps in because he's a nice guy, steps in to break it up, but in doing so essentially wins the duel, which was kind of his mum's plan. Their mum's plan.
Okay, yeah.
And the Queen is like, all right, that's your betrothed. And Nilo's like, no, this is one of my oldest friends. This is awkward.
Not how it works.
It's also my first crush.
Awkward, guys.
Yeah, and now we're just friends, and we haven't been as close because he was off fighting in wars, and now he's here. And Talhan is stand-up guy, so he's like, okay.
When do we get married then?
We're betrothed. And Nilo's like, no, we're not. She'll forget, and their mum doesn't forget. And so Nilo's like, okay, come visit me in the summer, you can stay till solstice, but then you're leaving. It's just to shut my mother up. And at the same time, basically the Queen is trying to drink and drug herself into an early grave.
Okay.
And it's just like, well, Nilo will handle it, so I'm off. And as part of that, there's this thing they smoke called witch's brew, and it's a particularly nasty strain of witch's brew that's entered into their city. And Nilo thinks it's tied to the shit that's gone down in book 3, which is like a whole new, like a coven of witches that were thought dead have come back and they are stirring shit up, and they're tied to the bad kings from book 1 and 2. The baddies from book 1 and 2 have sort of made an alliance with these witches.
Okay.
And this brew is part of their attempt to take over the Summer Court. And no one's listening to Nilo. And so Nilo decides to go find proof, and in the investigation, shit kicks off. And at the same time, like, so Nilo's like hyper focusing on this, like doing the research. And Talhan's just like, I'll just sit with you. And Nilo's like, but you're bored. And he's like, no, I'm not.
I'm happy to
I'll go
sit.
do you want books? I'll go get books for you. Do you want me to go get books?
Like,
I'm fine. And then, like, because Talhan is dyslexic, he can't read. So he's like, read aloud to me. So he's getting Nilo, because Nilo loves books. It's one of their hyper focuses. So they're their special interests. So then he gets Nilo to read books to him.
That sounds so cute.
And it's just a cute love story. It does not shy away. There are spicy scenes in it that do not shy away from Nilo's biological sex and how that implicates sex with a man.
Another partner, yeah.
Yeah, none of that shied away from, but I feel like it's dealt with very well. Like I have, to be fair, watched A.K. Mulford's TikToks. She talks about the research and the thought that went into those scenes and why she did choose to mention the biological parts of this non-binary character. But I think it was well done. Obviously, as someone who doesn't live in that space, I'm not the voice of authority on it. But I felt it was well done and respectful, and also it was still spicy.
Yeah.
It didn't. It's showing these real characters in the real life.
Because she writes spicy books, it would be disingenuous for her not to it just because it's a non-binary character. Yeah.
Yeah. When we've got explicit scenes throughout the other books.
Exactly. Yeah.
It would have been.
And that's
weird and out of character for her.
That's not her branding at all.
Yeah, I think so. She's her pronouns are she, they to begin with, and I think she spoke to a lot of other non-binary people to say, like, how would I best represent this?
Mulford would definitely have had like sensitivity readers, I imagine.
Yeah. So it felt like that all was handled very well, and there were still very spicy good scenes, and it was very much Nilo being like, I've never really been attracted to anyone, but for some reason I'm attracted to you.
Yeah, you kind of do it for
and
me,
it's like, FYI, I grew up in the Summer Court, I've grown up watching orgies, so here are the things I would like to try.
Oh, I love that.
and different ways of exploring how to have sex comfortably in their body, so there's not to trigger any kind of dysphoria or anything like that.
Oh, I like conversation.
Without having those modern words to discuss it, though. So discussed in like a high fantasy, pseudo like medieval context.
Yeah. That's clever.
And to do, and also like Nilo is coded autistic, but has to do these big parties and has to do the things that a ruler has to do. And basically someone suggests an accommodation to help them get through a party, and they're like, well, I shouldn't need these things. And the guy, one of the guys who uses a cane, was like, I don't need this cane, but I hurt a lot less by using it.
Yeah, it makes life a bit easier.
So that means I can do the things I need to do. This is no different. So it's also talking about like
good conversation.
Yeah, to do with accommodations and like learning how to exist in a neurotypical world as a neurodivergent.
I love A.K. Mulford.
Anyway, it's just a cute story. Nilo's journey's really good. Because Nilo's just like, you don't want me, I'm a burden. And like, you don't want the mess of my court. And Talhan's like, yeah, I do, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, whatever.
And it's like, they both had crushes on each other from kids and never talked about it. And it's like, oh.
Okay, I like that.
It's a good story. And there's like, I think she found excuses to squeeze more spicy scenes than she did in previous books.
Like, hang on a minute, let me just throw a thing in.
Oh, 1 second, they just like nearly drowned in a river and now they're getting out of their wet clothes. Well, what a perfect opportunity. So yeah, it's a good book. Go read it.
Now I'm thinking of that, like, giving a blowjob over the sounds of the dying.
It's not quite that bad. That's Akatar, by the way.
Yeah.
Specifically Akawa.
Akawa. Right. Completely different change of direction.
Of course.
I read 19 Claws and a Blackbird, which is by Augustina Bazterrica, which is the author of Tender is the Flesh.
Okay.
So this is a short story collection. Is it 19 short stories, or do I just have 19 in my head because it's called 19 Claws? I cannot far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so horror, fantasy, sci-fi short stories.
Mm-hmm.
Augustina really seems to. I've only read 2 books from her, but she really seems to want to delve into what makes humans and what makes us a disgusting mess, basically.
Okay. Is this body gore again, like body horror?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay.
So obviously, I don't want to go into too much of them. Oh, it is 19 stories. Yeah, don't want to go into too much of them. But there's like a kind of dark comedy tone to a lot of them as well. So there's one called Roberto, which is about a schoolgirl who says that she has a rabbit growing between her legs, and she tells her classmate in confidence, and then her classmate tells a male teacher, and he's like, "Oh, when you get old enough, you get a rabbit growing between your legs," and and then he like takes her to the school toilets to check out the rabbit, and I think he thought she was talking about pubic hair, but she was not. So it's like that kind of thing.
Okay.
There's one of a person, I think it's the first story, a person who's on their balcony on like a block of flats, and their neighbour from some flats above like jumps to their, like, commits suicide and lands on her balcony, and she takes it as like a personal insult because she's a dentist. She's like, I know they jumped on purpose because they needed dental care or something.
Okay.
So purposely jumped onto my balcony.
Of course.
Like, yeah, it's just really weird. And there's like things about like there's a human, but are they an alien and stuff? Oh, it's just really good.
Okay.
Dark, funny, good.
Okay.
Yeah, if you liked Tender as the Flesh, I would say definitely give this a try. If you didn't like Tender as the Flesh, I would say give this a try still anyway.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say.
Okay. So I listened to actually The Spanish Love Deception, which is a big TikTok.
I know so many people who passionately hate this book.
I can see why.
And are angry with anyone who loves it. Not that extent, but yeah.
The beginning is slow as fuck. It is slow until we get into the point where we fucking get to Spain. The whole build up is just
oh yeah, that's
it's
another
so
thing.
long.
I see people being like, for a book called Spanish Love Deception, I thought it'd be in Spain or something.
Yeah, so it takes a really fucking long time for them to get to Spain. So
really?
she's basically she fled Spain because she was dating her professor at university, and it all goes terribly wrong because of course it would. And he gets out scot-free, whereas she gets made fun of, and there are Facebook groups made about her and all sorts of stuff. So she leaves and does her masters in the US and gets a job in the US. And then her sister is getting married to her ex's brother, and her ex is already engaged. So she blurts out on a phone call, "Oh, well, I'm coming with my boyfriend because I've got a long-term boyfriend." It's very serious.
Oh, so she's Spanish, is she?
Yeah.
She's like from Spain.
She's European Spanish, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is another issue I'm going to
Okay.
bring up in a sec. So she's European Spanish, and so she says, "Yeah, I've got a boyfriend, I'm going to bring him." And then her nemesis at work, Aaron Blackford, because she says his full name all the time for some reason, overhears her talking to her best friend about this issue that she's lied about having a boyfriend, and now she's got to find a date. And he's like, "Well, I'll be your date." And she's like, "Shut the fuck up."
It's a totally normal thing for people to do.
Oh yeah, they're
happens in
absolute
these stories
enemies.
all the time.
Yeah, they hate each other. They're enemies. And then he's like, "Oh, I'll be your date," and she's like, "Shut the fuck up. You hate me. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to spend a weekend in Spain with my family. Like,
Yeah.
shut up."
It's a weekend in Spain, love.
And he's like, "Yeah, I will." And she's like, "No, you hate me." And he seems to be a bit puzzled by that.
Oh, I wonder why.
And so then he goes about like trying to make amends and help her at work. And there's all these politics at work that are like gender politics, and like they're both team leaders and on equal footing. And the other team leaders are causing like some issues because they're misogynistic. That's the word I was looking for. And he like tries to help her and blah blah blah. And through this, like, spending time together, because he suddenly seems to have realised that she hates him, he's, like, trying to make amends. And then they eventually strike a deal. Shocker. She'll go on a date with him to some big charity event if he'll go and be her date at a wedding.
Right.
Which 4 days in Spain, paying for flights and everything, is the same as one night at a charity auction, apparently. And they go to Spain together, and she's like, you have to not only, like, pretend to be my date, but you have to be like, we're in love and you're, like, my boyfriend. And he's
wildly in love.
And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to struggle with that. And she's like, oh, he's such a good actor. He's acting like he's obsessed with me and he loves me and it's all an act. And then, like, so it's lots of miscommunication trope, and it gets dragged out far too fucking long, in my opinion, because he is very direct about his feelings.
How long is this book?
It was an audio. So, I mean, look at...
Is it one of those ones that should have been a lot shorter?
I don't know, because our Wi-Fi is currently not letting me look. 1 second.
474 pages?
Yeah. So it was
Contemporary romances should not be longer than 200.
It was 14 and a half hours, listen.
Fuck off. No, I would not do that.
So yeah, I was very close to DNFing at a certain point, and then they got to Spain and things started, like, getting better and warming up a bit. Obviously... they get together, obviously. Some of my issues with this is that the narration in the audiobook, she has a Latino Spanish accent. She has a South American Spanish accent.
Oh.
Not a European Spanish accent.
So they hired someone that did the wrong accent?
Well, there's an American narrator... and who does an American Spanish accent.
That's silly.
Not a European Spanish accent. And I think if you weren't European, you're not even going to clock it. And then, like, all the accents of when she goes to her family, their Spanish accents are not our European Spanish accents. Yeah. And, like, you can say, oh, I'm not the voice of authority in this because we're not in Spain. But I have literally worked with a girl from Barcelona. And, so I've been on holidays to Spain quite a lot. It's not European Spanish. It was Latino sounding. And I was like, this is wrong. So that was one of my gripes with the audio. It's okay. I can see why some people hate it. It's not the best one of these books that I've read, the romances. The ending was cute.
You've been making your way through a few of them.
Yeah, like when she got to the wedding and then they're at the wedding, like lots of cute things happen and the spicy scenes are okay.
What did you listen to it on? Script.
So yeah, I don't know. It's not. The Emily Henrys and the Ali Higgsworths are better.
Listen to Not My Type. You know that one I listened to before? That was on Scribd.
Okay, let me just go save that while you do your next book.
Okay, so I listened to The Society of Soulless Girls by Laura Stephen, which is the author of Every Exquisite Thing That's Just come out. So this is a YA, it's a, who takes the classic one, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Alright, yeah.
It's a retelling of
Okay.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a sapphic retelling, like contemporary retelling. It was really good. I thought I would love it, and I did. It was as good as I thought. So it follows, it's based at an elite college of the arts set in the north of England. Can't remember whereabouts, like near Whitby kind of way. It's in the northeast somewhere. And 10 years ago, there was 4 students who died falling from a tower on the premises, and it's called the North Tower Murders. And it caused the elite school to close its doors. It's just reopening, and we follow 2 students who are in the first lot of students to return. So we follow Lottie, who is like sunshine. Everyone wants to be her friend. Everything seems to go well for her, and she is there to. She wants to investigate what happened, because one of the girls that died was from her town in Bury St Edmunds.
Okay.
Which is down the south of England. And it also follows her roommate, Alice, who is the complete opposite, like gothic. No one wants to be her friend. She's grumpy with everyone. Grumpy sunshine. And they both end up pulled into the story of the North Tower murders in different ways. And it turns out to be more paranormal ritual over serial killer.
Okay.
And it causes Alice to have... No, not Alice. It causes Lottie to have, like, blackouts where she doesn't know who she is, which is, like, obviously the Jekyll and Hyde kind of...
Okay, that's clever.
So, yeah, it's like a thriller. They're both trying to get to the bottom of it. They don't realise the other one's trying to get to the bottom of it. There's a cat which doesn't die. It's like an eternal cat.
Okay.
It was really fun, but there was loads of really good conversations on feminine rage,
right,
misogyny, all of that good stuff.
Okay.
It was great. You know those lists of female rage?
Yeah.
This would be on it.
Okay.
And it was just rage, but in a really good way, and I loved it. Yeah.
I love that shit.
Fantastic. Really good.
So, my next one.
Mm-hmm.
Love Theoretically by Ali
Have
Hazelwood.
you finished all of them now? Or that are
I
out?
looked. She's got some more, actually, that I didn't realise she had more than these STEM ones. So there is Checkmate.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
Check
some
and
people
Mate.
reading that, yeah.
And Stuck With You. Oh, no, that's one of the STEM
That's one of the
novellas.
STEM ones, yeah.
I think Checkmate's the only one I've got left then.
Check and Mate, yeah.
Check and Mate.
Oh, Bride. That comes out next year. Oh, that's a fantasy romance.
Ooh, I reckon she'd be quite good at that, to be fair.
It's got a wolf. A
A
dangerous alliance between a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf.
I knew it was going to be shit.
Okay, I would read that.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be good. So this is they always have the same. So this is a theoretical physicist, and a experimental physicist.
Yeah.
Enemies to lovers type thing. Enemies, quote marks. So she's done her master's in theoretical physics. She's trying to get a job at MIT because at the moment she's doing a job as an adjunct professor, which is like, they kind of teach all over. They teach like 5 or 6 courses across different unis, like basic physics stuff, physics 101 kind of things. She's doing that all over the place and it's not making her enough money. So she also does this app called Faux Dating, where she is someone's fake girlfriend and they pay her to come to events or whatever to be a fake girlfriend. There's no sexy time, there's not even kissing or holding hands. It's just like appearing like a good girlfriend. And she's like very much a social chameleon and she's very good at it. And there's one guy who's a really nice, sweet guy who is ace, and so they're not supposed to have regulars, but he pays well and he's nice enough, so she's gone to him a few times with him. But his brother at those events is very suspicious of her and asks all sorts of pointed questions. And she makes a physicist joke by accident and he clocks it. And she's like, oh shit. And he's just like very intense. She applies to be a professor at MIT. Guess who's on the hiring board?
Oh, I wonder who it could be.
It is the same guy.
The guy who noticed a physics joke.
Yes. And he's also in a very senior position. Also, this same guy did a spoof paper in a physicist journal when he was like 17. He wrote a spoof paper that got through the sort of review process and got published. And it was obviously written as a spoof paper. And it was basically done so the industry thought to show that theoretical physics is bullshit. Okay. Because I can write some bullshit nonsense paper and it will get through. So then even theoretical physicists don't really know what to talk about. That's how everyone took it, and it caused like a divide in the industry. And it was like it's the reason why all her jobs have been underfunded and why she's find it so hard to get a job after masters. And also her mentor is the editor that let that paper through and his career was ruined.
Okay.
So this guy, who's also the suspicious
They always
brother...
have so many backstories.
Yeah, so the suspicious brother is also the person who wrote this paper that took down
What was
theoretical
his
physics.
meaning behind the paper then? If that's
So you
not...
find out later that wasn't his intention.
Okay.
He had a personal vendetta with her mentor.
Oh, okay.
So the purpose was to show him up for a fraud,
Okay.
which he did. He did not mean to cause like a rift in the industry. But so she like has basically several reasons to fucking hate this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, oh.
You're cute.
And he like,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't deny what he did, but he at no point ever expresses any opinions that show that he thinks theoretical physics are bad.
Mm-hmm.
She makes lots of jokes along the way of like, well, you obviously think I'm a joke then because of like this. And he's like, never said that. Yeah, like, and then he takes actions behind the scenes. Anyway, it's the classic miscommunication Ali Hazelwood thing. She's going through this application process. The nemesis dude has a candidate for the same job who is an experimental physicist. So it's being pitted to her by someone in the department as like, it's theory versus experimental, blah, 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 gender politics. But no, it was all a farce. It was this faculty person who's put her through for the position fighting her own agenda. The person that she was up against was like so much more qualified than her that she had never had a shot.
Oh, okay.
So that's like the big... So it's not that this person's also his friend. It's like a whole fucking thing. So she's like, the whole world is against me. You're evil. Miscommunication. Series of circumstances throw them together. She's like, oh, he's funny and he's hot, but like he hates physicists and he hurt my mentor. And then obviously miscommunication. It's cute. It is what it is. Although the only thing I will say, this one in the spicy scenes, there is a whole discussion of like where she's not particularly experienced. There's a whole discussion like how do you like it, and it's in the context of a spicy scene. It's the male lead in the scene not just like doing stuff to her and she just instantly likes it. It's he like tries different things and he's like, how's that? And there's like that kind of inherent in that, you know, that inherent awkwardness of that moment as well, but you are in the mood kind of thing. And he's like, he tries different things until he figures out what she likes, and then he does that a bit more and he's like, more of that, and she's like, yes please,
100% yes.
And so that's the only thing I did like about this one. It wasn't this instantaneous, the best sex of my life. It was like a bit of figuring it out
to learn each other.
Yeah.
That's good, I like that.
So yeah, cute. That's what it says on the tin.
It's an Ali Hazelwood.
It's an Ali Hazelwood. You know exactly what you're getting. I keep explaining it to people. I was like, it's the equivalent of sticking your binge Netflix show on.
Yeah.
But in a book.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're getting. It's a nice little comfort read.
Yeah.
You know there's a happy ending. You know there's a miscommunication.
It's gonna be a silly trope. Yeah.
Yeah, like...
What's not to love?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not actually going to talk about this one. Fourth Wing.
We just did a whole episode on it.
Yeah, go last week if you haven't heard it yet. We've done a whole episode on it. So then I'll skip to my next one, which is going to be my last one because I'm just going to lump them together. I'm getting up to date on Skullduggery Pleasant.
Yep.
So I've done number 12, which was Bedlam.
Yep.
Number 13, which is Seasons of War. I'm currently doing number 14, which is Dead or Alive.
Yes.
And I read the graphic novel, which comes out next week, and we're going to go meet Derek Landy in a couple of days when we're recording this. So we get it, the UK get it early in time for the signing.
Yeah.
So it's, Bad Magic. So I can't really talk too much about Skullduggery because, you know, we're at number 12 and 13 in the series, and I accidentally spoiled myself for something last night, and I'm really upset about it.
I was so careful when I was telling you about things as well.
And I've done so well to avoid it. We follow... I mean, we've done episodes talking about Skullduggery so much.
Yeah, because it was my hyper-focus for quite a while.
We follow... the series follows two detectives, their partners. So there's Skullduggery Pleasant, who is a walking, talking skeleton, and Valkyrie Kane, who at the start of the series is a 12-year-old mortal, or so she believes. By this point, she's 27 years old. She has a lot of power. She's been through a fuckload of stuff. She's saved the world more times than we can count.
Derek is not very kind to his main characters.
No.
So she has been through the mill.
She's been through hell. She's dealing with it all. She's got super trauma from it all. So when I came into this, they're dealing with like alternative worlds.
Yeah.
They're dealing with the fallout from a big thing that happened in that some mortals escaped another world to come to ours for sanctuary, and they have to go back to that world to try and like fix some stuff.
Yeah. I forgot about all this.
Because it's all parallel, so some big bads they've dealt with in our world are not dealt with in other parallel universes. At the same time, there's like so many different kind of religious sects that all have their own agendas and are doing stuff behind the scenes.
The difference in this world is like the gods are real.
Yeah.
And people keep fucking about with gods, and then it really surprised when it doesn't go well.
Yeah. My favourite part of this kind of stuff, of like the book, sorry, I'm just putting my t-shirt on. My favourite...
She had a vest top on, or she wasn't been sat here naked, by the way, just for context.
There, like, flashing about. My favourite part of where I'm currently at in the book storyline is Valkyrie's relationship. She's in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
What's her name? Maritza? Is that right? No.
Oh, I'm not sure. It's been ages since.
She's in a, at the moment, healthy relationship, and she has a dog.
I love her dog.
That's all
I also love how much Skullduggery hates the dog.
Oh, when he came to the door and he was like, is Zelda around? She's like, why, you don't want her to touch you? And he's like, no. And she's like, come on, Zelda. And she comes and jumps on him. And we also have, I don't want, obviously I'm being very cautious of any kind of spoilers, but Valkyrie's also dealing with a awful thing that happened to her little sister, and she is dealing with a lot of that. So she's just got a lot going on, really, as usual.
Decisions she made to save the day has hurt her sister, and they didn't find out till years later.
There's like knock-on consequences to decisions that were made to save the world.
And she had to make some pretty rough decisions.
She's had to do so much rough.
She's been through a lot, poor Valkyrie.
And the graphic novel, the first graphic novel, I'm hoping it's going to be a series. He hasn't actually said either way, but I'm assuming.
And also he's announced that there's going to be another phase of Skullduggery.
Yeah.
And one of the things you tagged me in.
The first book comes out in April or March, and it's going to be called A Mind Full of Murder, and it's going to be a trilogy. Woo! The cover looks brilliant, doesn't it?
Yeah. I just thought, what else can you do to these poor characters?
Yeah. So the graphic novel was really fun. It was very well drawn. Like the artists that they had involved in it really brought the characters to life, and he captured their little banter and sass so well. There's like one bit where they're having a fight with some baddies, which is what they do. And someone punches Valkyrie, and she's like, "We're in the middle of banter." It's just, they just capture it so good.
I just like stuff like, there's a bit where like Valkyrie gets punched through a wall in one of the books, and she's like, "Now we're being punched through walls, are we?" She's like, "This was fun 5 years ago. I'm bored of this now. Why do you always punch me through a wall? Like, why do baddies always do this?" Or like, well, if the baddie like tries to do something and it goes wrong, they just take the piss out of them, and it's so funny.
So yeah, and this could work as a one shot. I hope it's going to be a series. It was really good, and the team they had working on it were fantastic.
So on a related note, my last book in my update is Hell Breaks Loose, which is a Skullduggery prequel style book. It's very short. It was 320 pages. So this is Skullduggery's life 300 years before he meets Valkyrie, when he's part of the Dead Men, which is like a group of soldiers that were called the Dead Men because they'd go and do like impossible shit that anyone else would die. And they were like not afraid of death. And they also had the walking skeleton, but it's only 8 years after he has watched his wife and child be killed in front of him, was tortured to death himself, and then resurrected as a skeleton. And it's only 8 years after that, so he's still a little bit fucked up. And a little bit angry. And they're fighting in the war. And it's just kind of about like an incident in the war that goes a bit wrong. And Valkyrie comes back from the future So this is set after book 15, I think. Valkyrie pops back from the future to try and fix something where someone's come back in. Someone in the present has said, "Well, I'm gonna go back into the past and fuck shit up." She's like, "I'm gonna stop you fucking shit up," but then it causes like a weird parallel timeline and all this kind of stuff. And so she goes and meets all the dead men, knowing everything she knows. Also, the people in the dead men, there's certain people in the dead men that betray them, and I can't remember if that's where you're at, so I can't tell you who. But someone very important to the dead men betrays them all. And she has to go back in time and pretend everything's cool. And they're like, "Why do you keep looking at him like that?" And she's like, "No reason." And he's like, "Have I done something to offend you in the future?" And she's like, "Yes, you very much have." And then like she tries to do her like banter with Skullduggery.
Oh, but they don't. That's a different Skullduggery.
But he just like confusedly does the banter with her. And he's like, "Are we like good friends in the future?" And she's like, "Yes.
We're like best mates.
We're like besties."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I barely like the people that I know now."
Yeah.
And she's like, "We're besties
Trust
though."
me. Trust me.
And then, because this creates like this parallel timeline that gets deleted, that's when none of the dead men remember her in the future. But it's just this cute little thing. And it's all done mostly from Ghastly's point of view. R.I.P. If you're mad about that spoiler, that book came out like 15 fucking years ago, so sorry.
I would have been mad like a year ago.
Yeah. So that's it. That's everything we've read recently.
Brilliant. Right. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, please. There'll be a link in our bio everywhere. Please come drop some questions. We are thinking of doing a Q&A for our 100th episode.
Yep.
And if you want to talk about what books you've been reading, come and join our Facebook group, which is Lazy Book Lovers Podcast.
Yes.
And please rate us wherever you listen to this podcast.
It helps us a lot.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.